Be honest about what just happened. You picked up your phone to check one thing, one quick thing, and then you looked up and 40 minutes were gone. You don't remember most of what you scrolled. You didn't decide to stay, you just stayed. And here's what you told yourself, the same thing everyone tells themselves. I need more self-control. I'm addicted. It's my fault. But it isn't. Not really. Because what happened to you on that couch is not a personal weakness. It's a strategy. A deliberate, refined, brutally effective strategy that is almost exactly 2,000 years old. The Romans invented it to control millions of people. And you just fell for the modern version of it without even noticing. The app on your phone isn't new. It's the oldest trick in the Book of Power. And today, we're going to take it completely apart. Let's start with the big picture, because once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Ancient Rome had a problem that every empire faces. How do you control a massive, restless population, packed into cities, many of them poor, many of them angry, without an army big enough to watch every single one of them? You'd think the answer is force, soldiers, fear, punishment. But the Romans figured out something far cheaper and far more powerful. A satisfied crowd doesn't rebel. A distracted crowd doesn't organize. A person who is fed and entertained does not go looking for who's really in charge. They summed it up in two words that survived 2,000 years: bread and circuses. Give the people food and give them a show, and they will hand you their obedience without you ever lifting a sword. TikTok, and every app like it, is running that exact same playbook on you right now. And it starts with the bread. Here's how the bread part worked. The Roman state handed out free grain to hundreds of thousands of citizens. Free. No work required, no cost to you, just show up and receive. Now, that sounds generous, almost like an act of kindness. It wasn't. It was one of the most calculated political tools in history. Because a hungry population is a dangerous population. Hungry people riot. Hungry people look up from their empty plates and start asking hard questions about the men in the palace. But a fed population? A fed population is calm, comfortable, grateful even. The free bread wasn't charity. It was a leash made of wheat, and it was invisible because it felt like a gift. Now look at the app in your hand. What is the single most important feature of TikTok, of the endless feed, of all of it? It's free. You pay nothing. You just show up and receive, endlessly, no work required. And just like the Roman grain, it feels like a gift. Free entertainment, forever, whenever you want it. But ask yourself the question the Romans hoped nobody would ask. Why? Why would anyone build something this expensive, this sophisticated, and hand it to billions of people for absolutely nothing? Nobody gives away something that valuable out of kindness. The free bread kept Rome citizens fed and quiet. The free feed keeps you scrolling and quiet. Same instinct, same leash. It just tastes like entertainment now instead of wheat. But bread alone was never enough to hold an empire. The Romans knew that a full stomach still leaves an empty mind, and an empty mind is where the real danger lives. So they built the second half of the machine, the circus. The circus wasn't clowns. The circus was the arena, the Colosseum, the chariot races, the gladiators, the spectacles that drew tens of thousands of people to sit for entire days and watch. And the Romans built these things on a colossal scale, at enormous expense, all across the empire. Think about that. The government poured staggering resources into pure entertainment. Why would any ruler do that? Because the arena did something the bread couldn't. It ate people's time and it captured their emotions. A citizen in the stands, screaming for his favorite gladiator, roaring with the crowd, was fully occupied. His whole day, his passion, his attention, all of it poured into the spectacle in front of him. And a man that absorbed in the show has nothing left over. No time, no energy, no attention to spend on the far more dangerous activity of noticing how his empire actually works and who it actually serves. Now, where does your attention go every single day? You carry a Colosseum in your pocket. The feed is an arena that never closes, never empties, and never runs out of the next spectacle. Video after video after video, each one engineered to grab the exact emotion the moment before you were about to look away. The Romans needed to build a stone stadium the size of a mountain to capture a crowd for a day. Your arena fits in your hand and captures you for a lifetime, in little pieces, one scroll at a time. And here's the part that should genuinely stop you. Ask yourself, right now, When was the last time you were bored? Truly, completely bored, with nothing to look at. For the Romans, boredom was the danger zone. A bored crowd starts thinking, and a thinking crowd starts questioning. So they made sure the shows never stopped, and neither does your feed. But this raises the question that unravels the entire thing, the one the Romans really, really did not want you to ask. If all of this is free, who is actually paying for it? Somebody always pays. That's the rule. The whole trick depends on you forgetting. The Roman bread and the Roman games were free to the citizen, yes, but they were staggeringly expensive to provide. So who footed the bill? The emperors. The most powerful men in the world reached into their own treasuries and paid for the grain and paid for the games out of their own pockets. And they did it gladly, eagerly, competing with each other over who could throw the most spectacular show. Now, why on earth would the most powerful men alive spend fortunes feeding and entertaining commoners they didn't even respect? Because they weren't buying bread. They weren't buying games. They were buying something worth far more than money. They were buying loyalty, peace, power. A population too comfortable and too entertained to ever turn against them. The emperor paid in gold, and what he purchased was control. That was the greatest deal in the ancient world. So apply that same question to the thing in your hand. The app is free to you, but it is astronomically expensive to build and run. Armies of the smartest engineers on the planet, oceans of computing power, billions of dollars, all poured into an app you pay nothing for. So who's the emperor here? Who's paying and what are they buying? They are not buying your money. They are buying the exact same thing the Roman emperors bought: your attention, your time, your loyalty to the feed. And every minute you spend in the arena, you are handing it to them, gladly, eagerly, the same way a Roman citizen cheered in the stands and never once wondered why the show was free. You are not the customer. In this arrangement, you were never the customer. You are the crowd, and the crowd was always the thing being managed. Which brings us to the darkest and most useful part of the whole strategy, the reason emperors and platforms alike are so happy to keep the show running forever. Here is the real genius of bread and circuses, the part that has nothing to do with food or fun. Its true purpose was distraction. Think about what a person is not doing while they're screaming in the Colosseum. They are not gathering with others to discuss the state of the empire. They are not noticing the taxes, the corruption, the decisions being made far above their heads. They are not organizing, they are not questioning. Every ounce of their attention is aimed at the arena, which means none of it is aimed at power. The spectacle wasn't just a way to pass the time, it was a shield. It kept the crowd looking down at the sand instead of up at the throne. Distraction, at that scale, isn't entertainment, it's a tool of government. And this is where the parallel stops being clever and starts being uncomfortable. Because what are you not doing during those 40 lost minutes on the feed? You're not talking to the people in the room with you. You're not sitting with your own thoughts long enough to figure out what you actually want from your life. You're not noticing the larger forces shaping your world, your economy, your choices. Your attention, the single most valuable and limited thing you own, is aimed entirely at the arena in your palm, which means it is aimed at nothing that actually threatens the people running the show. The endless feed keeps you looking down at the screen instead of up at anything that matters. It is the same shield the Romans built, rebuilt in glass and light, and it works on you every single day. So here's where I have to be fair, because this is not a video telling you that TikTok is evil or that you're a mindless sheep. That's the lazy version, and it misses the actual point. The real question this whole comparison forces you to ask is much stranger and much older. Why does this keep working? Why is it that 2,000 years apart, with all our knowledge and all our progress, the same simple trick, feed people and entertain them, still quietly steers millions of us away from our own lives? The answer isn't that the emperors were evil geniuses or that the app designers are villains. The answer is that the trick works on something deeply human. We are wired to seek comfort and to chase the next bit of stimulation. Bread and circuses don't work because they're forced on us. They work because, on some level, we walk into the arena on our own 2 feet, and we're happy to be there. That's what makes it the most effective form of control ever invented. It never feels like control at all. It feels like a gift. So the next time you feel yourself sinking into the feed, losing the minutes, the hours, I don't want you to feel guilty. Guilt is useless. I want you to feel something more powerful: awareness. Just notice, for 1 second, what you actually are in that moment. You are a citizen in the stands. You are holding a Colosseum. You've been handed free bread and an endless show, and the only thing being quietly asked of you in return is your attention, your time, and your quiet. 2,000 years ago, they built stadiums of stone to do this. Today, it fits in your pocket and it knows your name. The Romans just proved the strategy works. The people who built your feed just proved it scales. And the only real power you have in the arena is the one thing the crowd never had. You can choose at any moment to look up. If this changed the way you see that little app, then you already did the hardest part. You looked up for a second. And that's exactly what this whole channel is about. Finding the ancient machine running underneath the ordinary things you never question. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And tell me honestly down in the comments, how long was your last scroll session before you caught yourself? Be brave. I want to know if you felt it too. I'll see you in the next one.